Hello everyone and welcome back to Bacon. Also welcome back to Cinderella Phenomenon, Rumpel's Route. We're at about halfway, at least halfway through chapter 8. And I spent my morning crying over Blue's Clues. How have you guys been today? So I'm going into this a little bit emotional. What has happened to the king and the others? I'm not sure. From what I've heard, the king and his family, your family, are still alive. I never cared for any of my stepfamily, but hearing that they are okay is still a relief. Mithras may be keeping them prisoner for now. Ooh, what is the glamour that Sir Mithras used? Dolores steps in to answer the question. A glamour is a high-level magic used to conceal one's identity. It keeps even other witches from sensing you. Perfet cast the same magic on you shortly after you came to the tavern. It was to protect you from the evil witches. A glamour can only be conjured by the powerful witches. A glamour can only be conjured by the powerful witches. It sounds as if this witch has been using glamour to hide himself from others. Do you know Mithras? It was a long time ago. We both shared the same teacher. Teacher? Wait. Waltz, are you a witch? Yeah. He smiles at me, but it is weak and does not reach his eyes. Myth was always very competitive. I thought that he had died at the end of the Great War, but he's been in the palace this whole time. His disguise is so simple. I should have realized his name was so similar, but you couldn't have helped it. That's what the glamour does to you. Maybe if I wasn't cursed, if I had more of my magic, I would have been able to sense him. Last is who has claimed the crown. As of right now, no one. The king's been kicked off of the throne, and Mithras has made a public announcement about usurping the throne, but he does not call himself king. Is he trying to win the throne over for someone? Mithras has no one left. He was obsessed with our teacher, but she is gone. Is this going to be one of the 3 regular routes, as in like not Waltz or Fritz, that has her mother coming back? I mean, it seems a little late in the story. There's only technically like 2.5 chapters left, so unless the next 2 chapters are going to be like crazy long, I don't see how they could fit that in. Maybe he has different alliances now. Parfait's eyes look distant as she stares dismally down at the ground. If my curse were broken, I would charge in right now and destroy him. Waltz's expression becomes so dark it sends a shiver through me. It isn't like Waltz to look so angry. We need to come up with a plan. Even if you weren't cursed, you would still not be able to defeat Mithras when he has other witches with him. Witches are trickier to handle. Can't just be plunged through with the sword, eh? I agree with Karma. If all of us go in with swords and shields, we should be able to take back the palace. This is what we've been practicing for. Practicing? Even witches will die if you stick a sword through their heart, won't they? Beginning to a witch who knows you're there is difficult. I must do something. Okay, here's the next decision. I want to help. Is there anything I can do to help? Why are these the choices? Alright, we'll go with this one. Chevalier wraps his fingers around my wrist and frowns. Princess, this whole time I have been living at the Marchen. I was spared the fate of the royal family by sheer coincidence because I was cursed. I cannot just sit here and do nothing while the kingdom falls to a witch. It fell to witches before, and there were dire consequences. I cannot continue to be passive. I will not let myself be like my mother. Princess, I am Lucette Riella Breton, the crown princess of Angiel, and I will not stand by and watch when the kingdom is in turmoil. The room goes quiet at my statements. Chevalier's fingers loosen on my hand. I can see a ghost of a smile on his face, though it underlines his sorrow. I figured that was going to be the right decision as she made that declaration. You can kind of tell sometimes. It's not every single time. I won't say it's very rarely. I was about to say very rarely. It's not very rarely. But sometimes you can tell you made the right decision just based on how triumphant it is, if that makes sense. Spoken like a true princess. Whether or not you want to help, Princess, you really can't. You won't be able to use magic until your 18th birthday. That's when you become the bearer. I cannot let that stop me. I will find a way. The conversation in the room continues for a long while. At some point it is said that volunteers are needed at the hospitals and clinics for the injured soldiers. Chevalier immediately volunteers. Only afterwards does he look at me with regret. Princess, I'm sorry. For what? for putting my job before you, and after all I just said. He told me he was going to try his best to change. Bria called him selfless before putting his work before her, but you'd be a fool not to. My life is not in any danger, and there are people who need you more than I do. Do what you do best, Chevalier. Princess Lucette, I promise I will do whatever I can to help you as well. As the meeting disbands, I am left standing there in the quiet, the last to leave his waltz, who promises me that he will make things right. I'm going to trust everyone, but I'm also not going to stand idle. I will make things right, somehow. As is my responsibility as Crown Princess. And that is the end of Chapter 9. Alright. The Witch Purge. Oh dear. Another long night. The two of us are on our way back to the Marchant after visiting a clinic in town. We were there for hours, and it is a relief to be out in the open now, where I can feel the wind on my skin. Are you okay, Princess? I know what you saw must have been difficult. I'm sorry I couldn't shield you from the majority of it. I volunteered to help Chevalier at the clinic part-time, but it is worse than I had expected. Many of the soldiers have severe wounds. I had thought that most of the injuries sustained by the knights during the upheaval were only minor. But I was wrong. Their injuries are much worse. Princess? He reaches out and laces his fingers through mine, then gives me a soft smile as he squeezes my hand. Are you okay? I am fine. It has only been 1 day since the uprising at the palace. I had thought that there would be less blood. I was wrong. Is this what things were like after the Great War? I wasn't a fully certified doctor after the Great War, but I was an assistant. It was far worse than this, Princess. We cannot have a repeat of the Great War. I do not know why Mithros would kill Sir Alcaster and take the throne without claiming the crown, but... Ooh. I do know in the other routes I'd already kind of discussed it a little bit, and I also talked about it again in the comments, particularly with Ice Star, who seems to be my comment buddy, that each route technically had her mother there, and that she just sort of disappeared when she became the bear because she wasn't there to, like, transfer her energy or whatever. But I do have to question if maybe Mithros is saving the throne for Lucette. I don't know. I think he still considers her to be the same as her mom to a certain degree. I guess we're gonna find out. We just have to run into him. At this point, we only have 2 chapters left, so... The witches already have a bad name, and he is making it worse. I cannot help but remember the wide smiles Mithros gave me when I was still living in the palace. Every time I felt his eyes on me, I felt there was something strange about him. There was always a cloudiness to his eyes, something unreadable. He was excellent at his job, but always an enigma on the outside of it. A sudden breeze chills my skin. Let's go back before you freeze out here. The two of us begin our walk back to the Marchant. Thoughts of the palace, the king, and my stepfamily cloud my mind. Since I have been staying at the Marchant, I have not seen Rod once. I was never sure if it was because he was ignoring me or if it was because he only wanted to speak to Parfait. Regardless, I hope Rod and his family are okay. I would never wish this treatment upon anyone, not even to the ones I hated. As we walk, I glance up at Chevalier, whose head is tilted skyward. I catch the glimmer of lights in his eyes and smile. Even for just a moment, I can forget about everything when I am beside him. He has a way of taking the weight off my shoulders. Oh, this is not appropriately built up. I've already expressed this so many times, so I won't get into detail about it, but I feel like all these freaking moments are just forced because of all of his past behavior that he still has not made up for, that he was told don't bother making up for it when he had the chance. It's just ruined. And it could have been really, really sweet. He had so much potential. But as the crown princess, I cannot let others carry my burden for me. I must find ways to protect the others, even if it means putting myself in danger or harming someone in order to protect someone else. What do you think is the easiest and fastest way to kill someone? Chevalier's body goes rigid beside me. He stops to stare at me wide-eyed. It's kind of out of nowhere, lady. I'm asking just in case I am ever in danger. I have never fought anyone before. I can retaliate, but I do not know how to actually harm anyone. To kill someone is to end a life. It is stealing away a life that others might love. You bear the burden of that death for the rest of your life. I pull myself away from him. But Mithros is not an innocent man. Would you rather he kill the royal family instead? No, it's not that, princess. I know he must be stopped at any cost. It's just... I would never want you to have to kill someone. How would you know what it was like to kill someone? You only ever help people, not hurt them. You saw the soldiers in the clinic today. You saw how close some of them were to death. Did you see the hollow look in their eyes? I've seen that look many times. It is the look of a man who clings desperately to life. Every life is precious. And a life is still a life, whether it's vile or not. It is still a responsibility you have to bear. I know how valuable and fragile lives are because I have helped so many people. We stand quiet for a few moments, facing each other. I know I am at odds with Chevalier. That's throwing me off really hard. I know I am at an odds with Chevalier. He speaks the truth, but I also know that I speak my own version of the truth too. Bria told me that Chevalier was so selfless he became selfish. She told me that he never had anything because he gave everything to others. His kindness has hurt others, and I fear that it has a likely chance to hurt him as well. What if his reluctance to hurt anyone causes him to be the one that is injured? Chevalier suddenly breaks the silence. Most people think that the easiest way to kill a person is to stab them through the heart. Those people would be wrong. It's like another nudge at karma. He puts his hand over his heart and stares dismally down at the ground. He removes his hand briefly, but only to reach for mine. Hello? He takes my hand and settles it on his chest, slightly to the left. I can hear the beating of his heart beneath my palm. It is soft and gentle. What can you feel besides the beating of my heart? The ribs? Yes, in order to stab the heart, you have to get through the ribs. That's why most of the soldiers in there who got stabbed in the chest are still alive. If you want to quickly kill someone, you have to stab somewhere where it would be difficult to stem the blood from a wound. Basically, around the stomach area. Or in one of the arteries of the... Anyway. Okay. Do you have any idea where that might be? I would say the abdomen or the neck. There are many organs in the abdomen, right? And there are no ribs blocking the way. A good guess, but his eyebrows furrow. A person can still survive that kind of wound. You're actually likely to die faster if they stab you through the liver or some other vein or artery. Still, what you're suggesting would allow people to live for a long while without treatment. Most would probably die from either infection or blood loss. The place you'd actually want to stab or slice is part of the neck. That is true. I don't know anatomy as well as I thought I did. Chevalier moves my hand to the side of his neck. My fingers curl slightly when I feel his heartbeat reverberate beneath my fingers. This part is where you can find the jugular vein and the carotid artery. I think that's how you say it, carotid. He runs his fingers down the length of it and I shudder. He runs my fingers down the length of it and I shudder. A mischievous smile brightens his face. Not only does cutting at the neck stop blood from going to the head, but it also makes it spurt. If both the vein and the artery are cut, it only takes a minute to bleed to death. To extenuate, or however you say that. Thus, one of the best ways to kill a person would be through the neck. Why are you telling me all this now? I was just enlightening a new pupil with an anatomy lesson. He asked me a question and I responded as a teacher. Chevalier's fingers loosen on my hand and I grasp his hand tighter in response. Princess, I don't want you to have to bear the burden of a murder. I promise that I'll protect you, so you don't have to defend yourself with violence. I can't use a sword of magic and I don't know how to fight, but I will always be there to protect you. I'm very tall and slightly wider than you. I will be a meat shield. That's a sad joke and I apologize. I may not have an abundance of muscle beneath these sleeves, but I am a doctor. No one knows the body better than I, so though it may not be heroic, I know how to hurt a person. His sincere expression, though pain, tells me that he is telling the truth. I do not want Chevalier to hurt a person either. It would destroy everything that he has worked toward as a doctor. He has seen so much suffering and yet always seems untouched by it. I will do anything I can to protect his positivity. Okay. Save. And then we're gonna load. Loading, yes. Going for the neck. The skin on the neck is thinner and you have lots of blood flow underneath the skin, going right to your head. It would most likely be easier to slice or pierce something more vulnerable in the neck without running into as much resistance. Chevalier raises an eyebrow. Did you happen to pick that up around the clinic? No, I simply guessed. Haha! Then you have a bright mind, Princess. Apparently I'm not that bright. I was thinking along the lines of like, if you stab an organ and immediately jerk the sword back out, in particular, like what you mentioned before, there's a couple of organs that if you get them, you're gone very quickly. Chevalier moves my hand to the side of his neck. Okay, fast forward. Yes. The merchant was quiet when we returned. Everyone had already disappeared into their rooms, and so I went straight to mine. I also forced Chevalier to go back to his. He has been on his feet all day, and he needs the rest. I plopped down onto my bed as soon as we returned home. I glanced briefly to the side where Chevalier's bouquet is in the vase Parfait had given to me. Who is it? Parfait. Come in. You've returned. Parfait looks paler than normal. I realized with a start the Chevalier did not tend to her at all today. Don't look at me like that. I'm fine. I'll only disappear into dust if something happens to me. How were the soldiers at the clinic? Not good. Many of them have been gravely wounded. Some said they remembered magic, others say they do not remember anything at all. A shadow falls over Parfait's expression as she sighs. So the circumstances are that word, worse than we thought. It is a good thing Chevalier is there to lend a helping hand. Did you all manage to come up with a plan? It is proving more difficult than we anticipated. Delora and I are willing to put ourselves in danger. Waltz is too, because he can use magic to a certain extent. The knights in Karma have their blades. But Chevalier, I do not want to involve him in this. Because you're worried about him. Of course I am. You've grown, princess. You remind me of a younger Hildur. Don't say that! Don't say that! Don't say that! Back then, Hildur was both calm and resilient. One moment she could be smiling ear to ear, the next she could be strict and unmovable as the coldest ice. The two of us were like sisters. We did so much together. We learned together, explored the kingdom together. I still betrayed her to an author because I didn't care, because it made fairies look good, and then I tried to pretend like I didn't know what I was really doing. I could say with all certainty that we were the best of friends. And then the fairy tales happened. Whose fault was that? When Hildur killed the first human, she was corrupted. Her darkness swallowed her whole. I do not remember a time before Mother was corrupted, and so I cannot imagine the woman Parfait describes. I know the old Hildur would have wanted to show you the beauty in things, princess. She would not want you to suffer. I'm sorry you became so embroiled in things. It was inevitable. If Delora hadn't cursed me, then I would still be in the palace, and I would be just as helpless as everyone else. So while I am here, I have the responsibility to help everyone. I touched the incomplete glass slipper at my neck. I still haven't done 3 good deeds. Don't look so sad. You will complete your 3 good deeds and things will go back to normal. And of course, you'll still have friends here when you return. And come your 18th birthday, Delora and I will teach you about magic. Waltz is eager to help too. But for now, our top priority is a plan. Rest easy, princess. Things will work out. It's hard to believe that this plan could be so easily solved, but I will try to believe. When Parfait leaves, I am left to my own thoughts. I hope everyone at the palace is okay, and that they can hold on until we come up with our plan. But I feel like we are already running out of time. I'm going to go ahead and end things there. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I am Bacon, and this so far has been Cinderella Phenomenon, Rumpel's Route. We're about halfway through chapter 9, so we only have 1.5 chapters left. If you like the video, feel free to like the video. If you like me, feel free to like, subscribe, comment, all that lovely stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!